the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to ChopStation. Listen, I'm excited to be here with you today. I want to welcome everybody back. I want to welcome those that are here for the first time. ChopStation is a platform of love, knowledge, wisdom, and building. We're coming to you every Thursday on a set day. You already know what time we're going to be here at 7 p.m. and it's going to be sharp. So we don't want to prolong your time and we don't want to waste your time, but we want to give you knowledge and feed you wisdom. ChopStation is also on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe. Go to Apple Podcasts if you got Apple and make sure you subscribe. We're on Google Podcasts. Subscribe there. We're on Anchor Podcasts. Subscribe there. Spotify, all YouTube, Amazon Music. We're on all of them. Make sure you go and subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. How will you know it's us? You'll see the big CS. So when you see the big CS, you know that it's ChopStation. Now, for the next 3 weeks, we have Dr. Pamela Odom on here with us. Listen, I'm excited. The comments, we already got 7 comments, Dr. Odom. We haven't even started the show yet. So I know everybody's already excited, right? Yes, if you all remember, we had Dr. Jeffrey the first 3 weeks, and now we have the honor and pleasure of having Dr. Odom, Pamela Odom, on here as well. She's a powerful woman of God, an amazing mother, superb teacher, gifted leader. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but the one thing I always want to make sure I do is send her and give her her roses now. A lot of times we wait too late to give people their roses and their flowers. Listen, she deserves a whole lot of roses, okay? She's put a lot of knowledge into me personally, professionally, for years, and she did it on her own because she wanted me to be a better person. So everything that she's going to say right now is going to come to you from the heart. It's going to come to you from a place of knowledge. For you all that did not know, that are watching, they celebrated 40 years. Okay, this is 40 years of knowledge. And you can't tell me that you know everything that they do because you don't have 40 years. So, I mean, there's that too, right? I want you to make sure that you go to her IG page, and it's Dr. DRFORJC. So Doctor for JC. Go follow her on IG too. Ma'am, I could go on and on for days. Like Dr. Jeffrey, he's in the house too, so I want to make sure I give him his love as well. And I could go on and on for days, as everyone knows, talking about Dr. Odom and what she does and how she's, how she does it. So I've invited her to speak on a series called Unlocking Your Mate. So for the next 3 weeks, I want you guys to make sure that you're here at 7 p.m. when we start to get these jewels, these nuggets, because she's going to drop them. So with that, let's go, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I want to send out blessings and love to everyone. Thank you so much for having me on tonight, and thank God for just being here and being alive and well to do this. Just wanted to say thank you for the remarks, and thank you for the all that has been said tonight concerning my life, and I thank you and I appreciate you, and for the respect that you have for what God is doing in my life. So I want to also send my love out to Latoya too. I also want to acknowledge her, send a love out to her for me. Send my love out to my own husband, 40 years. I mean, what can you say? 40 years, what can you say? I thank God for him. And I tell you, I have learned a whole lot about relationships during these 40 years. And I'm going to tell you, we started out at 20. So we had the 20 decade, we had the 30 decade, we've had the 40 decade. Now we're in the 50 decade, and we are starting in the 60 decade of relationship. And I just thank God that God has taught me a whole lot on how to build relationship, how to unlock the man or the king in a man. So to say that he is my king, and that is something that I work toward to make sure that he understands that he is the king in my life. So I want to go to a little bit. I don't want to bring any type of like, I'm not going to church you, I'm not going to preach to you, but I believe that this is the way I am able to explore this in a way that it will be beneficial for not only the non-Christian or the Christian, but even for anybody who is in any type of relationship. And so I wanted to just look at what the meaning of relationship is, because a lot of times when we say we're in a relationship, there are different types of relationships. And when I looked up relationship, but I kind of like did this on my own as far as a definition, because I began to understand that there are relationships that can be romantic attachments. There are relationships that can be associations. There are relationships to friends. There are relationships to family. There's a relationship even in a partnership. You can become relational. And last but not least, that one that really stuck out to me, that really dropped in my spirit, was a hookup relationship. Because any way you do it, it's still a relationship, because it carries you to bring two people together in order to make something happen. So I wanted to just, kind of like, bring that out and let understand what we're talking about tonight. But I wanted to just give my little play on what I feel like what respect is from a woman's perspective, because I believe that a lot of women, and this is something that I've learned over the years, and I believe that a lot of women get married, but they have no preparation in the marriage. They have not prepared themselves to be married. And they kind of like find themselves in those first 3 years, what I call years of struggle. Because, even in my own marriage, in the first 3 years, I had struggles. I had a lot of struggles because I didn't know anything. I could only go by what I saw my mom and my dad do. And that's what kind of helped me. So to respect a man, I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And I want to tell you about something that I found that may help us as women to be able to understand the man, or even to bring the king out of a man. So what happens in respect? Respect is when we honor who he is. We honor and give him that place in our lives, and we build him up. We recognize him when we're supposed to recognize him. We esteem him. When we respect him, we allow ourselves to search his heart. When we respect him, we pardon his mistakes. When we respect him, we enforce that respect for him even the more. And even when I said enforce respect, that means that I cannot continue to disrespect or continue to walk over him because he is not given in return what I think he should give me, or what anybody in a relationship thinks that they should be getting, because everybody wants respect. Not only does a man want respect, but the woman also wants respect. But the man needs respect in order to move in a relationship. I've tried so many things in relationship and tried to go around so many ways of trying to get that man, to my husband, my man, to do and to be whatever God wants him to be, or even in a natural sense to be whatever he desires to be, even in his own heart. So I understand that in my respect, I have to consent to him in every way. I have to put myself in his shoes, and I have to listen to him and include him in everything that I do. So it says that when you recognize him, you bring respect to the table. You are now, what you're doing is you're talking to him and you're telling him, that he belongs to, in the place that he's in, that he belongs to the family, and that he belongs to the world. And that's the respect that we have to always tell our black men, because I'm going to tell you, black men have a low tolerance for disrespect. When you disrespect them, they shut you down. It's like shields up. And they are not going to do anything. They're not going to make anything happen. It's just like everything stops in the middle of nothing, and nothing is said. And it's kind of like you all go your separate ways because that disrespect hit there. So I was looking up and I was saying, God, what exactly is a man? What is a man's identity? What makes him tick? And so I saw these two words and they really made sense to me. One was that it says that a man is, first of all, pragmatic. When he's pragmatic, that means that he's earthly, he's down to earth. He's hard-headed. He's realistic and he's practical. And he is a man who is a matter of fact. I mean, all the way across the board. And then I looked up the word logical and I was like, God, I said, this is really good because I want you to catch this at the end once I finish the end of this definition. It says that based on one reason, logicalness is based on one's reason and sound ideals. In other words, thought out with mathematical precisions and removed from all emotions. So that's the way God made men, and that's the reason why they must have that respect that's given to them, because you have to understand that in order for your man to really love you, that he has to make sure that he's your king. And the reason why that is because in our day and time, and even and I talk about this with our black men. I don't know if whoever I'm talking to, I don't know, I'm talking to more like a black man because I'm married to a black man. But black men, if they have had a fatherless home, it's hard for them to really, really give you a real affection that you deserve unless they really trust you. And that goes along with that, because a lot of times when a lot of women, especially black women, will always say, well, I don't understand it, but it seems like that our black men are less affectionate than, any other race of men. And that is not because they are trying to be unaffectionate. It's because there are things in their lives that we as women, as black women or women, period, must bring up out of them so that they can know that they are a king and not just a black man. And so with these situations and circumstances with this, I began to, understand how to go in and out of my own husband, how to not, what not to say and what to say, what not to do and what to do. And a lot of times I did it by a lot of things I did mess up by accident. But then as I began to go back and I go back and find out what was said and how it was done, because even with this, it takes work for you to perfect your respect for your man. It doesn't come overnight. It takes time for you to respect him, because he's going to always do something that you don't like. He's going to always make mistakes, which no one is perfect. So that means that we have to, as a woman, we have to have that ability to come back in and rectify even what has been made a mistake, even in his life, and still bring out the king in him. At all times of our relationship, every woman needs to recognize and to know that her man is a king. There's a king on the inside of him. And you don't ever want to deal with him with disrespect, because if you deal with him with disrespect, you're going to bring that fool out of him. And he will act like a fool with you. And then you go all running back talking about, oh, I'm mad. I don't know why he said that. I don't know why he did that. Were you disrespectful? And there are so many ways of that we can, really be disrespectful. We can be disrespectful when we don't bestow honor on him. When we don't respect how he acts or how he reacts. Because we have to understand that a man is not like us. We are emotional beings. You cannot try to make your man an emotional being, because God didn't make him like that. He is a logical man. He's a pragmatic man, and he will do things that you don't understand. But at the end of the day, if you really respect your man, you will go along with what he's saying. And seeing, these are things I tell women all the time in marriages. And this is what I did. Instead of me saying, oh, no, I'm not going to allow him to do that, because if I allow him to do that, then he's going to mess it up. He's going to tear it down. He's going to let it fall to the ground and all this type of stuff. And I tell women all the time that you have to be able to let your man know that you trust him. Because I don't care what happens and what you're trusting him with. If it falls to the ground, that's the reason why two heads are better than one. You bring on that respect. You bring on that love. And you bring on all the things, all those different things that we as women can do for our king. And then you'll find him to find him seeing himself in that place where he made his own mistakes. You ain't got to say, well, if he should have did it this way, then it wouldn't have been that way. If you would have said it that way, if you'd have paid it that way, then we wouldn't have been behind. It's always that lip that begins to come out. And that's when the shields go up. and the man becomes very, 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 very quiet. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to relate to you. And this other thing I want to. This is key. I have the most respect for my husband, and he has the most respect for me. And the love that he has for me came from me respecting him and allowing him to be the man, allowing him to be that place where he is set to be. There are a lot of things, yes, that I can do, and a lot of things that I can do, probably do well, but I don't allow myself to get in the way of what's going on with him or what's going on with his decisions. If he makes a decision, and in the relationship, what we have, if he makes a decision, he comes with me to the decision. We pray about the decision, and we come to, an ends to the decision. But it's not, well, I'm going to do it my way, and it's not, I'm going to do, and he's going to do it his way. And another thing is, even in your relationship, in your sexual relationship, because I have a lot of people who come talk to me about their sex lives. I'm going to tell you, if a man feels like that you don't respect him, shields go up. He will give you what you need in the bedroom, but it won't be a respectful giving. It would be something that, okay, well, I'm just going to do this and blah, 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 blah. But I've learned that if you respect the man, I mean, truly, unadulteratedly respect the man, then everything he gives you will be like gold. There's nothing he won't give you. There's nothing he won't do for you. There's nothing that he and a lot of us. Well, I don't know. Really, he don't act like he really want to be with me. He act like he don't really love me. Where's your respect level? Are you recognizing him? Or are you esteeming him in front of everybody else? Are you allowing him to be the man, or are you the man in the midst of your friends, in the midst of your family? Are you going and saying things to your family about him? That's disrespect right there. That's not allowing him to be the man, because when you go to your family, then your family looks at him totally different. And so I wanted to go through that for just a few minutes on the respect of a man, because I believe that's very important for us to know about a man, because if we don't understand, it about our man and about the respect that we need to give him, then we will miss out on a lot of things that belong to us. So those things begin to move away from our relationship. And that's how I believe that people begin to separate and begin to divide themselves in relationships, even though they're living together, even though if they're just got a hookup, if they got a partnership, if they disrespect the man, then the man is not going to give them what is due to them. So I wanted to just put that little bit out there as far as from my perspective, that if you really want a good relationship, then, learn how to respect your man. Enforce that respect. In other words, enforce it. Make sure that you're not, trying to be ugly and trying to be smart and trying to act like you're the one that know it all, but allowing him to be the man. And that's what that respect. So you honor him, and then you're bringing that man's identity into place. That king begins to raise up. And then there's nothing that he feels like that he cannot do. Okay. So the other thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to flip it a little bit, is talk about the woman. What a woman needs in the relationship. A woman needs steadfast. A woman needs to know that her man is going to be steadfast with her. Every woman wants to know without a shadow of a doubt that the man, the boyfriend, the fiance, the spouse, whatever, is completely completely got him in his thoughts, loyal to her, without a shadow of a doubt, and know that this is who he wants to be with. That's what the woman wants. She wants to be able to trust him completely. She always needs to be able to trust him. I've also noticed in relationships that both of us want our needs met, but seldom do we communicate those needs to the spouse or take the time to know the needs of the other. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Let me just help you here a little bit, women of all, as you're sitting out there and you're listening to me. Communication is very key when you are in the process of you and your man coming together. If you're coming together non-sexual, if you're coming together sexually, if you're coming together to be with each other, there has to be communication within that place, because a lot of times needs are not met. A lot of women think men are selfish when a need is not met in their relationship, whether it be sexual or non-sexual. But the real reason is that we do not communicate to our man about what we need and about what we want. And even in vice versa, him communicating to you what he needs and what works for him and what doesn't work for him. So that's a place where I feel that a lot of women are stopped in their giving of their love and giving of their concern, honoring their man, disrespecting their man, because they are not communicating. Where there is no communication, there is no movement. There's no movement in the relationship. There's no movement in the bedroom. There's no movement in anything that you are allowing yourselves to come together to do, because everybody, each and every one of us, is too quiet. We're too quiet. So we want to make sure that we understand that communication is key. This is a statement Dr. Harley states. He says the main reason needs are often not met within the union of marriage or any types of relationship is not selfish unwillingness to be considered, but true ignorance of each other's needs. A lot of marriages break up because they don't know their spouse's needs. A lot of marriages stifle and burn out because they are not communicating their needs. And that's why you'll find, if you don't watch yourself, you'll find yourself moving out of the relationship and looking in other places so that you can try to fulfill that need that's there, but you have it right in front of you because God gave that person to you. Or if you're not a Christian, then you're in a relationship, then you still need to know that it's not really what is really happening. It's that we just need to communicate more. Okay. So in that place, we want to do that in the cases that we do. Always know that you need to communicate. You need to speak up. You need to say something, whether it be futuristic, whether it be present, whether it be in the past. Those things right there need to be dealt with, because if they're not dealt with, then you're going to be going through your relationship in a lie. And I'm gonna tell you, I've been to that phase too, where we tried to hide things and tried to not discuss things because we felt like the other one would not agree, or we felt like the other one would not understand what we're doing, what we're saying, and what we want. But I want to let you know that if you say the truth in love, if you communicate correctly, you can be able to have the best relationship that you've ever had.
Dr. Odom, I'm on pause right there, and we're gonna take a short break right there. But I'm taking notes, so everybody that's watching understand when you see me writing, I'm writing these notes down too, because these are jewels and these are nuggets. And a lot of times I listen for what I want to name the episode, right? Or what the title, but it's so many titles and jewels that just drop.
Yeah.
It's just unlocking your mate everything, basically. Really, it's the honoring both, the respect from both. The thing you talked about when you mentioned about, emotions, men and, not being emotions, mathematic, logical. I always think about something we used to always say, women are like spaghetti, men are waffles. Mm-hmm. And the faster that you realize that, you really think, and you put that into a context of everyday life, waffles are compartments. Spaghetti is like water. It's just fluid. It goes in, it's everywhere. Yeah. So listen, I hope you all out there are taking notes and really taking this information. So we're going to take a quick 1:30 break. Come right back, grab your water or whatnot, because we still have a lot left to learn. See you in a second. back. We're back. All right. All right. Unmet needs, communication. Take it over again, Dr. Odom.
Okay, let's talk about a little bit about the man. Let's talk about esteeming him. So esteeming him. Esteeming him. How do I esteem him? I esteem him by admiring. You know how you can, most of the time, most women, this is something you don't need to be embarrassed about. Everywhere you are, everywhere you go, you ought to be esteeming your mate. I was doing my 40th year anniversary dinner, and there was a couple that came in because since I've gotten this assignment, I have watched couples. Everywhere I see a couple, I watch them. I watch their ways. I watch how they mingle. I watch how they talk. I watch how they smile. I watch the body language. And there was this black couple. That was this black man and a Caucasian woman that walked in the restaurant. And immediately I began to see her esteeming him. I mean, she was admiring. I mean, she was all up in his face. She was sitting close to him. I mean, so close to him that you couldn't get anything between them. And I'm watching all of this. And I believe that is something that is lacking in our black relationships, is that we don't esteem our black men enough. We don't look at them as important as we should. We don't build them up the way they need to be built up. We don't do that. We feel like that we have to be the head. And this is another thing. When I saw them walk in, they walked in together. Now this is another thing. Everywhere I go, and I'm gonna say this is very seldom because I very seldom see a black man and a black woman walking together. It's always the black woman walking 5 steps ahead of the black man. But when you see another Caucasian persuasion or any other type of group of people, you'll always find them with their hands locked together. And so I believe that this esteeming when we start esteeming our husbands, we start esteeming our significant others. If we start esteeming them better, I mean, bringing them to the place, letting him know that he's not perfect. He knows that he's not perfect, and we don't have to just watch that in and just do things and to let him know that he's not perfect. He already knows that. And like I said earlier, none of us are perfect. He needs to also know too, and he needs for you to overlook his faults and celebrate him. Because every man has a fault. Every woman has a fault. And if we dwell on the faults of each other, we will never ever come together and fall in love the way we're supposed to. We will never ever be happy because we're always looking at the faults. And this is the thing that I've learned, that not even in my mind do I think of a fault in my mate or in my man. Not even in my mind. Not much less for it to come out of my mouth, because if it's in my mind, it's in my heart. And whatever is in your heart, and remind yourself when you're talking to your man, and if there's no esteem coming out, if there's no bringing the king out of him, then you need to sit back and relax and shut up and understand that now you are getting some shields up here, because now you are what? He's not tolerating it. He can't tolerate all of the disrespect that's coming his way. A lot of women think that men should understand how they feel. That's not true. A man can only understand how a woman feels by what she says to him. I tell my man all the time, I tell him how I feel. I tell him how I want to feel. I tell him how I need to feel. I let him know the deep inner parts of me so that he will be able to understand where I'm coming from. Not that I'm trying to make him emotional. I'm not, because I know he is a man and that's who he is. But I am allowing him to come into my space. And even if I allow him to come into my space, then he begins to trust me enough to allow me to come into his space. Okay? So we want to be able to celebrate our men, celebrate them, celebrate everything that they do, celebrate their occasion, celebrate them doing things that they wouldn't ordinarily do. And I know sometimes, you ask your man to do something, it might be 6 weeks before he get to it. That it doesn't matter. Don't get your panties all up in the ward. Don't get uptight about it, because I'm telling you, once he does that, what are you going to say? Oh, wow, it's about time you did that. That's been a long time waiting, and you just not doing it. No, 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 no. You want to celebrate him at that moment about what he did, because if you celebrate him after he's been 6 weeks in doing it, and now you're celebrating him, that does something to him to let you know, oh, she didn't fuss at me. Oh, she didn't get mad. Oh, she didn't hold nothing back from me. No, it was all still esteeming and having love and having kindness all mixed with it, so that the next time you ask him to do something, it won't take 6 weeks. Because you know why? Because he wants to be celebrated. He wants you to esteem him and let him know how well he did. Don't think things in your head about your man. You got to take all the thoughts out of your head. A lot of people ask me, well, how in the world do you continue, even though you know it's there? Because I'm very prophetic. I put it like that. I'm very prophetic, and I can really read what I need to read concerning whatever needs to be read. But when it comes to my man, I've allowed God and asked God that I don't want to be prophetic with him. I want to be able to love him regardless of what I think, regardless of what tries to come into my mind. So what I do is I make sure that things that try to come in my mind, because I understand that they're just a disruption. They're just a burned bridge that's not going to be able to be put back together if I allow those words to fester in my mind, if I allow those things to fester in my heart. Then I would begin to start looking at him cross-sided. I'll begin to start grudging up things of the past, bringing past stuff up, and like we women can do, we can take years of stuff, and we get mad enough, we can take years of stuff and bring it to the past, to the future so quick. It'd be like, oh my God, he don't even know what we done hit him. But we want to make sure that our thoughts, what we have in our heads about him, remain in our heads, or let them dissipate. And let's go on and let's continue to esteem. These thoughts, once you think them, these thoughts going to always lead to some action. You're going to start fighting. You're going to start saying words you shouldn't say. You're going to start telling him to go to the bedroom, the next bedroom. You sleep on the couch, whatever the case may be. You're going to let all that anger go down at the nighttime. All that wrath is going to be all, swerving all through your home and through your apartment or wherever you live. Because now you have allowed those issues to come out, that action starts to take place. Think good things, and good things will come out of your mouth every time. I don't care what the feeling, what your emotion. See, because it's really just your emotional feelings. Because and this is what I learned also, a lot of women they were already wounded before they got married. That's why I said that those wounds need to be healed before a marriage takes place, because it never fails that the enemy will use the woundedness of a woman to destroy a relationship. Always fail. It's not, and we look at it and say, well, it wasn't the man. It never is the man. It's the wounds that are so deep within the woman that she allows those wounds to overtake, and then there she comes and she talks. And she says, and she does, and she brings the very food out of her man. The world has delivered your man already. The world has already devalued your man already. So when he stepped out of the threshold of your home to go to a job, to go to work, to go to the gym, to play basketball, the world already has set a sign up on his head, especially our black men. It's a sign already all over us. We have been, given so many different types of names to destroy or to distract a black man, that if we as their spouses don't understand that what they go through on the outside, and when they come home, they don't want to come home and be devalued at home. They want to come to a sanctuary when they come home. They want to come to peace when they come home. And I've known a lot of men who will work late hours, who will work overtime, because there was never no peace in his own home. So he worked so that he wouldn't have to come home. A lot of women are now in a place, and in our world, I'm telling you, with this liberalness and this woman's rights and all this type of stuff, there comes a time. It's really, and I'm old fashioned, and I might be, all this might be taboo to some of y'all. But I'm just telling you That all that stuff, that new stuff that they coming up and trying to say that you're man, you can be this and you can be that and you can be all this stuff at one time and you can have a great relationship, that's a lie. It won't work. But don't let him go out of the doors and be devalued and then come home and be devalued. Please love him, esteem him, show him, recognize him like you never did it before. Don't let him come. Don't let him come home and and that's what I said earlier. Don't let him come home and you're doing the same thing. Recognize him as a king. I said that over and over again. Recognize him as a king. When he comes to his castle, let him know that he's the king. Maybe you can do some really, really good things. Have something ready. If you don't cook, well, find somebody to cook for you, or go and buy a good meal and bring it home and set up candles and set up, something that's going to really, really bring off that whoosh of the day off of him so that he can relax. Give him a hot bath or a hot shower, and you just get in there with him, make it a little bit better, a little bit more, loving. But recognize that king in him. So if you recognize, and saying this is a woman, if you recognize that king in him, it says, I need for her to know that I am different from her. This is what every man wants. You've got to let him be different. He is not a woman. He will never ever be a woman. He will never ever think like we think. He will never ever do what we do. He will never ever feel what we feel. Let him think like a man. Let him be a man, because that is the way he has been created to be. A man cannot be a woman. He can't be a woman. Show him affection at every opportunity you get. Kiss him often. And this is what I do. Anytime I see my husband, I either I'll say something funny or make him laugh, kiss him, by the way, rub his back. I just do little gestures like that I can help him to understand that, you're my king. Whatever you need, I'm waiting on you at this point. Whatever you need, this is what I'm going to do. So that he will be comfortable with me, comfortable around me, that he won't need the attention of other women when he knows he's the king in his own castle. He won't need the attention of, I'm putting it like this, other women won't be able to get his attention because you have been the best queen that you could ever be. You have really esteemed him. You picked him up. You kissed him along the way. You held his hands. You loved on him. You prayed for him. If you prayed, you prayed for him. You've talked to him and given him, and you've told him how proud you are of him. Don't take for granted the job that he has. Don't take for granted the things that he has accomplished. Allow those things to be his, and you yourself allow yourself to elevate him in those things, to push him in those things, to let him know that he can do anything he sets his mind to do. So we want to make sure you keep all the negative emotions out of the relationship. Respect him, keep recognizing him, keep esteeming him. Keep pardoning him, and I know he might not even deserve to be respected, but just think if you just respect him anyways, because none of us look. I bring this, and if Jesus would have thought about how bad we were, you think he would have went to the cross and died for us? It never crossed his mind. So we too can have that same perspective. We too can look at our man in a different perspective, in a different way, so that he would know, yes, you made a mistake. It's okay. We're going to work this thing out together.
Dr. Odom, we're going to take another quick 30-second break. And after this 30-second break, we'll be in the last part to show you guys. So Dr. Odom will have a chance to come back. She'll have a chance to close out tonight's show with whatever she desires. And then from there, we'll move into what questions we have. I saw some questions over there. One thing I wanted to point out real quick before we went to break, when you said you talked about every time you walk past Dr. Jeffrey, you touch him, you put your hands on him, right? A lot of us have seen that meme where they show first month of relationship, everything touch.
Yeah.
You went down the road, you're walking right past them, you don't even know they're in the same kitchen. Then a year later, it comes back around. But that adage is very true, because a lot of times you forget what you have, you forget to appreciate what you have in your own house. You know, and that's both ways. And what I really love about tonight, and I hope the audience is catching this, is that she's showing us, Dr. Odom is showing us from both ways. So we're hearing it from the male side, and then we're hearing it from the female side. So I encourage you all, after we finish tonight, again, to go back to those platforms, re-listen to this so that you can hear it from both sides and see exactly what she's saying. So we're going to take a quick 30 and we'll be right back. Be bold, be unique, shop Jax. Be exclusive, be one of a kind, shop Jax. Be yourself, be different, shop Jax. Not the same that you're going to see everywhere else. Shop Jax. JaxFlyWorld.com. Okay. We're at the home stretch of this first episode, you know, and again, you know, I've seen some of the comments, Dr. Odom, some of the comments right now. You know, like you just mentioned, Donald said, you know, a man doesn't want to go to war with the world when he has to come home and war also. You were just talking about that. A lot of speaks, amens, be his peace. A lot of those, you know, a lot of those things. Relationship should be a safe place. You know, a lot of those things that you're talking, the comments are echoing that. So I'm very happy to see that people are getting information. So we do have some other questions that Dr. Jeffrey put a question in the chat. We'll ask it at the end, but the floor is yours, Dr. Odom, to take us home.
Okay. We talked to, and so in that process, I want to talk a little bit about submission, because submission can go both ways. Okay. Submission, communication, honesty, trusting one another, and in all occasions and in everything that we do. So I want to give you a little definition about submission, because I think a lot of people, when they think about submission, they think about that's something they got to give up, or they got to be something totally different than what is said to be. But submission means to capitalize or to one another's desires, to surrender one's will, to give in, to acquire someone else's lead, or to allow someone else to lead. Now, this submission right here is the most difficult action in relationships, because the first thing that the person begins to think, and I've done a lot of marriages and a lot of people, the first thing they think is that they're giving up their rights. But the submission does not mean that you're giving up your right. It means that you are surrendering to another's desires. You're surrendering yourself to someone's will to give in. So what are you doing? You're coming together and you're making that peace. So you're making that place where you are one in it, and not apart. And one don't want to give in because they feel like that this one is not giving in. So one will pull back, and then the other one will pull back. And that's where you find yourself being distanced in your relationship. Submission is the most difficult action that you will ever understand as a Christian and a non-Christian. Because I'm going to tell you, God created relationships. He created Adam and Eve. I have to throw that in there because I want people to know that even in that, he understood that they had to come together as one. And Adam and Eve, they submitted to each other in the Garden of Eden. So the same way it is with any relationship, Christian or non-Christian, submission is part of the relationship. It's a very difficult thing, but you have to be able to submit to something. And a lot of people say, well, I submit to my boss on the job. Yeah, you submit to your boss on the job because you're getting paid. You ain't getting paid in no relationship. If you don't get submitted to the job and you want to get paid, that it don't work like that in the relationship. So it makes it very difficult, because if one is trying to crawl on top of the other, if one is trying to do all that they are in the place of doing what the man should be doing, and then you have that man sitting up on the woman, and the woman is trying to do everything, and she's trying to say that, okay, this is the way we're going to do it, or it's not going to be done that way at all. So no one is surrendering, and no one is submitting to the relationship. So what happens? You have a war going on in your relationship because there's no submission, and one is looking for the other one to submit. Trust him. You got to be able to trust him, and he needs to be able to trust you. His faults are his faults. He made mistakes with your life. And see, and this is what a lot of women will always say. I don't ever want, he's not gonna ever be in control anymore because he got too many faults. He got too many faults. But let me tell you something, that when you married him, when you hooked up with him, when you had that romantic relationship with him, he had them faults then. And he gonna have them faults 40 years from now. Like and those faults are going to be there, and they're going to be there, and they're not going to go away. So you ask the question, well, how do I deal with the faults? If you're a Christian, you forgive and love and keep moving. If you're a non-Christian, then you got a problem. So you have to make sure and make up your mind, what you want to do, because in the Christian has that ability for help. They have the help of God. Now, also, she says that she doesn't want to be in a relationship, or she don't want to submit because he's made too many mistakes in his life. Sometimes I think it's not good to tell in an early relationship your past, because some women can't handle that, or some men can't handle that, and they will use it against you. So it's good not to allow your past to come up for a while. Get to know each other first. Get to love each other for where you are and for who you are and what you're doing right now. And not allow, and see, because it was 15 years into our marriage before my husband and I ever said anything about our past, because we realized that we needed to work on the present time. And the more we worked on the present time, we got stronger and stronger and stronger, so that anything that came our way after that wasn't able to do anything about what we did, because we built that foundation. We built that foundation of submission, trust, honesty, communication, all those good foundations. We built those over the years. I'm better off making decisions. I know what I want, and I am the one who can do it. Every woman, that's what I say. Don't ever leave your man out of a decision. You are not the sole owner of the relationship. You leave him out, then you find yourself leaving by yourself, because he's not going to stay there in that. And then you go to the point, you'll say to yourself, well, I can never trust him again because he's did this and he's did that. Well, I'm going to tell you, if you love your spouse, if you love your companion, if you love your fiance, your significant other, if you really love them, you will look over their faults. And when you start to look over their faults, in return, they will look over your faults. They will find nothing in you that they will want to use against you, because the love covers a multitude of faults. And so in my closing, in my little bit more time, this little 4 minutes, a woman has to have the leadership. She wants leadership. She wants a man to lead her. She wants a man that she can trust. Every woman wants a man to know who he is. Every woman wants a man to know who he is. And so, but I asked the question, but why is it that we want a man? Why do we try to be the man in the relationship? To the point where we want to make all the decisions. We want to tell you where the money going to go. We want to tell you where to spend the money. We want to tell you what not to do and what to do. We want to tell you how to raise the children. We want to tell you how to go in and out of places that, of your friends. We want to tell you that, no, I don't want you with them. I don't want you talking with them. I don't want you with another man to know what a man is, who a man is. I just want you just right here where I can just control everything. No. If you want that kind of man, then you don't want leadership. And you won't be able to trust that man because you have emasculated him and he's no longer the man that you wanted. And every woman wants a man. You might have gotten to the point because of ignorance and because of things that you have done in your life and because you thought you knew what to do and you did not ask for help. You might have tried to say that you were giving the man the lead, but really in actuality, you were taking the lead. So this woman wants to trust. She wants a man, a family man. She wants quality time with the man. She wants the whole family involved. This is important to her. She wants him to be a provider. She wants to grow up and trust him in every way. She wants him to be honest, past, present, and future. And so I leave this part right here, and this is the communication part that I wanted to drop right here. Communication happens when you as a husband and wife, or whatever or whatever your relationship is, can honestly tell each other who you are, what you think, how you feel, what you love, what you honor, what you esteem, what you hate, what you fear, what you desire, and what you hope for. What are you believing in? And are committed to without fear or of a prolonged argument once you have what? Communicated these things. Can there be no arguments after you have communicated what I just said 2 minutes ago? So communication is meant to be a blessing in the marriage or in your relationship, not torment. So women, communication is not nagging. Never nag your man. Always speak to him with love. Always treat him with respect. And in return, he will treat you with respect.
Wow. Listen, I was thinking about this as you were talking, Dr. Odom. For everybody that's out there, because you always have people that are cynical and they don't want to believe anything, and they're gonna say, "Oh, this is just old school wisdom. This is just okay." Let me get y'all straight right now. Let me get to the mic and I'm looking at the camera. If you don't have 40 years of doing this, you can't talk. If you don't have experience of going, yes, you might have reached 5 years. 5 isn't 40 the last time I did math. You could have reached 20. 20 isn't 40, right? And moving, as they said, into the 5th decade and further, right? You could say, okay, well, I did that and now I'm divorced. Well, technically, you're divorced, so you haven't reached that 40 or that 50. So what I'm trying to say to you is don't discount the information that is being provided to you, because it's coming to you from love. It's coming to you from a standpoint of wisdom, a standpoint of wanting to see each and every person that's out there get to 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80, however long that time may be. So definitely don't discount that, because like Dr. Odom said, she said she's powerful, she's prophetic, and she can read. It's amazing that as you were talking, I'm feeling that through the camera. Like I'm feeling that through the camera. So I can hear how, I'm seeing how people are, I'm getting that. So I want to make sure we definitely clear that up, because a lot of times when you talk about relationships and people talk about relationships, everybody seems to think they know everything.
Yes.
And yes, there's tons of different sources. People may have different platforms and different medias or different things that there are different avenues that they want to present it to you. But what I'm gonna tell you is what they're speaking is factual, tried, true. It's tried, true, and proven. Okay, the proof is in the pudding.
Yes.
So I want to make sure I say that, and then I had some questions that I wanted to ask Dr. Odom and let you answer those, and we'll move through those. So the first one, I'm just going to go in order for everybody. The first one was from Dr. Jeffrey. He said, what advice would you give a single man, or we could actually use single woman in this case, looking for a mate? So we can answer it from both sides.
What advice would you give a single man or woman looking for a mate? Wow. I really can't answer that truthfully because of where I stand and who I am. Because if I try to make it where everybody can, non-Christian and Christian, can get something out of it, I would totally mess it up and destroy it. But I believe that every woman or man that's looking for a mate, or what advice I would give them, I would give them the advice to prepare in the relationship. Prepare. And what I mean by prepare, because I know a lot of people can get married and they get married quickly, but there was no preparation for them to stand during the hard times. So I believe that you should learn your mate. You should learn your significant one. You should be able to know everything that you need to know concerning them, where they come from, who they come from, background. I mean, the whole 9 yards of trying to figure out and know that this is the right one. And I think it takes time to do that. I don't think you should just jump into a relationship on certain reasons. Because I've seen people jump into relationship because they were vulnerable and they were hurt, and they jump, straight into it. I've seen relationships start because of someone who helped them get to a place where they desired in their heart, and that person was there to make it happen. They got in a relationship with them. So prayerfully, I hope that an individual will prepare themselves first before they get in a relationship, and also always have questions about the relationship, and always have counseling about the relationship, so that they will be able to understand the next 3 to 5 years what that relationship will contain, or what it will become.
Definitely. What's so interesting about what you just said, Dr. Odom, is as I thought about this the other day too, and I wish somebody would help explain this part to me. A lot of times, people have to think about it. You get married, but when you get married and you put your hand on the Bible. The marriage vows are Christian and they're written from the Bible, but you don't want to follow what the Bible says about certain things. I always get confused about that. And I had that revelation probably over the last 2 or 3 months when I was looking. I'm like, hey, you see all these marriages, you see people posting this or they're posting that, or they're doing this and they're doing that. And you're like, well, what vows did you take? Because those are not the vows that you said that you're going to follow. You're following, I guess, the book that you got from Family Dollar. I don't know where that one came from, but that was very interesting. The next question, and the last question we have for right now, is when a woman has to do everything herself prior to getting married, it's hard to let him lead. How would you handle that situation? And we can flip that too and say, from a man's standpoint, if he's feeling like he has to do everything. So how, basically, what that question asks, how do you give up how do you give up the life that you've built, because we're individuals, and allow somebody to lead?
Well, I think that all comes again in being able to submit, because if you are, and I have a lot of single women in the ministry, and I have come to realize that they have had to provide for themselves, and they have learned to be very independent. But I think on the flip side of that if I'm not able to, I can't come into a relationship and not lay down my independence. That means that I come into the relationship, but I'm still going to do what I do. Me personally, I don't understand why I want to be in a relationship like that when I'm coming to the relationship as a man to a woman, or a woman to a man. We're trying to become one. But if I keep holding on to that I've done everything myself, and I keep holding on to that I've built this, that, and the other, if I hold on to that, then that will be a place in my life where the enemy, put it like this, it'd be a place in my life the enemy will always use against me to overpower and never come under subjection or to submit to that man. Because it would be hard for me to do that, because now, but when a woman, and this is what, can I put this in, and when a woman meets God, a woman can automatically submit to God. If she can submit to God, she can submit to her man, even if she has been the provider for years. But if she submits herself to God, God in return will help her to submit herself to her husband or her significant one, whoever or whatever. So it's really, this whole thing about relationship is really exhausted, and it's got a lot of facets to it, and it's really difficult to put out there without having at least 5 days with it. So I'm giving what I have and from experience, because let me put it like this, I never ever was an independent woman. I never ever had to provide for myself all my life. But I saw my mom and my dad was a good example for me. And that my dad worked, and my mom, took care of the house. That was something that she did. So I never ever had to deal with being so independent now, because that's the way the world is. And every woman who makes it for herself, she becomes so proud of herself that a lot of times she's not willing to give that up, unless she gets with a man who don't care. And if she gets with a man who does not care about her independence or care about what she does and what she don't do, then she can get away with that.
Okay, okay, I like that. That makes a lot of sense in retrospective when you put a lot of the topics and information that you shared out today. And like you said, this is when it comes to relationships. This is a series for everybody that's watching. We could have a 52-week series on
Exactly.
relationships.
Exactly.
So, um, the
So
last,
don't cut me short because I had to be short. Ain't got but 35, 40 minutes. So
yeah, look, we are looking at ways to get Dr. Jeffrey and yourself back on the schedule at some point, because we have some other exciting things we want to do. Singles, we haven't forgot about you all as well. We definitely want to get that information. Brother Tench just put in a question. He said, if the respect is there, how do you deal with the facial expressions that may show otherwise?
well, one thing about it, facial expressions are things that just like smile. When you smile, frown, it just automatically come into the face. Now, I'm gonna tell you, there are some places if there's not healing, if that person can respect you, but if there's not healing there, they will automatically have a facial expression that comes out. And I'm not saying that they don't respect you, but they have to, over time, they have to heal from all the things that brought that expression into there in the first place. Because I remember, in my days, my mom always told me, she said, I'm going to tell you, baby, a lot of people are not going to like you because of the expression upon your face. And I used to wonder, I said, what you mean by the expression on my face? I just, be looking like everybody else be looking. She said, no, there's an expression that comes on your face. And there is sometimes an expression that comes up on my face that agape knows, and they know it well. That expression comes because I disapprove. I don't like it. I don't say nothing like I'll do something like that, but I don't say anything because it is not timing. The timing is not right. The place is not right. But that expression is there because they have not yet healed. That's what I say, that why that expression continues to be there. Anybody who has an expression on their face and it keeps coming back and it's not a good expression, that's an expression of being hurt, being in pain. Expression can be pain. It can be like a smile. People embrace a smile, but if that's you can't embrace that. That's hurt. That's pain. That's woundedness.
Well, listen, everyone. I'm glad that you tuned in for this, and I'm excited. I'm excited for next week. So I encourage everyone to make sure that you're back here next week to see part 2 of this, to get this awesome teaching. Like, this is teaching that, again, this benefits both male, female, helps you understand from both sides. And I'm just appreciative of God allowing Dr. Pamela to be able to share this information with us. So as we do now, one love. I want you to live loose. I want you to do everything from your heart. ChopStation is out. Peace.